You're watching America Trends. I'm Mary Burt-Godwin. We are coming to you from sunny San Diego. Actually, it's not very sunny outside today, is it? It's kind of rainy out here right now. Law 100 Studios. We've got a great guest to introduce you to. Her name is Michelle King. She's the founder and CEO of Soul2Sole Consulting, LLC. She's an executive performance consulting and coaching firm. Welcome to America Trends, Michelle.
Thank you so much for having me, Mary. I appreciate it.
Thank you for joining us today. So where are you zooming in from?
I am in Oakland, where it is also rainy.
Our whole coast is getting it, I think.
I think so.
Oh my gosh, I just want to stay on the couch in a big warm blanket and be cuddled up. But I am happy to be here talking to you right now. So tell me a little bit, you have a 25 plus year history in Silicon Valley, right?
Yes,
and then how did you
do.
transition to being a leadership and development consultant?
Well, those 25 years in Silicon Valley corporate America were almost in large part all of it in the people team, the HR function. And so I say that I have been coaching leaders for 25 or more years on all things people related. And just a really great opportunity for me to see how things work in the world and how things were working for myself. And coaching seemed like this very natural next step. I love learning. I love teaching people, and I love being part of their growth and support. And so went to coaching school and just spent a lot of time really talking with people, leaders and individuals, around the things that were important to them. And really, it's soul to soul. It's what's in your inside shows up on the outside. And so that for me is a really big driver for my business.
Yeah, I love that. And then you focus, it says executive performance consulting. So, do you focus on the C-suite level executives? Is that what you mean by that?
A majority of my work is with C-suite, really
Okay.
ensuring that we have a strong executive team, that they're functioning in the best possible way, right? They're performing, they're working together in the best way in order to be able to lead organizations.
Well, we're in such a transition time coming out of COVID, and with millennials and Gen Z joining the workforce. Well, millennials have been there for a long time, but now Gen Z joining the workforce, and expectations on working from home and flexible work hours, and then diversity and inclusion. And so many elements have been added to the plate of the workforce. I would say HR, what you were doing before probably changed dramatically the landscape of it in the last 20 years, probably while you were there. And now trying to get leadership in a place where they can manage all these different people below them in this new world that we're living in.
Yes, for sure. There, especially the last 3 years, right? I think there has been so many changes and so many things that leaders are having to deal with, and HR teams, lots of it that no one has ever done before. And so how we approach this and how we look at building culture, retaining employees, building our teams out in order to get the success that we want in business, and also happy, healthy, well employees who are able to deliver what we need, but also that they're getting fulfillment in the work that they're doing for themselves.
Yeah, all those things, which is challenging right now. So I want to talk about a bullet point here that's radical accountability, which I love that phrase. And accountability is something that's, it's a tough pill to swallow sometimes, right? Is figuring out where that it's me and not them, right? It's how can I be accountable for what's going on? And I'm assuming that's kind of what you're talking about there, but let's talk about that concept.
Yeah, so radical accountability for me is that complete responsibility for where you are today, but also where you're going, and accepting that all the choices that we've made up until now have put us in the place that we are today, and being grateful for that place and seeing and growing from there. And so for me, it really is, when I say radical accountability, it talks to this fact of I am willing and able to look in the mirror and see my part in every single thing that's happening around me. And my actions and my reactions are the only things that I can control in that sense. And so if I can get really clear about my choices and really grounded and willing to be accountable and show up authentically and intentionally, it makes a big difference. I think there's this concept that many of us walk around kind of unconscious, if you will, leaning into just what we're expected to do or what we think is supposed to happen, not really kind of paying attention to the choices that we're making, very small little choices
Yeah.
that shape our day and shape our careers. So it is really being conscious and leading from that place.
And I think, I see here the concept of not being a victim, not having a victim mindset, which I think is really a powerful place to start, because I know, sometimes bad things happen in life to people on varying levels at varying ages and times in their life. And there's a time and a place for a good pity party. It feels really good. I think it's important to sit in something for a while to kind of process it. But then there is that point where we have to move past that and get out of the victim and then say, how am I going to show up for myself right now? I can't change what has happened to me. So can you talk a little bit about that? No victim mindset?
Yes. So when I think about a victim mindset, it really is that things are happening to me instead of for me. And when we can shift that way of looking at the world, right, when you are in a place of things are happening to me, there feels like there's very little control, very little ability to know and understand what's coming and prepare for it. And it's just a really tough place to be. When we step back and we take that accountability for where we are in the choices and we say, we are actually very accountable for where we are. We are not victims. Things are happening for us. And if I can lean in and take the time to step back and get the perspective of why it's happening for us, what it's shaping us into, what it's teaching us, right? What are the lessons coming out of all of the things? It actually makes a tremendous difference in how we show up, how we feel about what's going on in our life, and we're in way more control of what's happening, and we have the ability to see the future and change the future.
Yeah, I really love that. It's a challenging thing to do, though, wouldn't you say? I mean, it definitely takes work. It takes working with someone like yourself, and it takes looking inward and kind of grappling with maybe some difficult items. It's hard work, right? To look inward and kind of take ownership for the things that have happened to us, and not be in that victim mindset. And now I want to talk about gratitude, because I know that's something important to me. I start every day with a gratitude list. How do you see how that plays into people's lives, and in particular, leaders and entrepreneurs?
Very great, good question. For me, gratitude is the way out of any sticky situation or a place where you're struggling to really accept accountability and responsibility. And it puts you in a place of actually being very mindful and thankful for where you are. I too have a morning practice, and I recommend it very strongly for all of my clients and teams, because if you can see the lessons in the things that came out of whatever happened, it takes you out of that victim mentality and really puts you back into control, right? This is happening for me because it's making me into this person who is resilient, or I've had to learn a lot of lessons that have shaped my trajectory and where I'm headed. And that gratitude practice, whether it's for the small things or big things, changes your internal systems. It changes how you feel about yourself. It changes your confidence in being able to handle whatever life throws at you. And it changes your perspective to be able to open up and see the world from a more broad perspective, rather than kind of this narrowly focused, something is attacking me, or it's happening and it's making me do these things. And so the language that you use with yourself and the things that you do around being grateful and seeing the lessons in everything makes a world of difference in your physiology and how you show up.
Now, and then to piggyback on that, there's also, you talk about breath work and sound healing. Mm-hmm. Now, what do you say to people when you work with some of these C-suite individuals that might be like, you're way too woo-woo for me, Michelle?
Yeah.
How do you approach people like that might be resistant to these kinds of things that you and I know work, but that they might say, no, too much for me, I'm out?
It's a great question. I I come from a place of, I was very corporate, right? I grew up in an age and an era as a woman leader, just that you show up as your very best self, right? Always dressed, always presenting in the way that you need and want to. And I think that a lot of our executives have carried that on and continue that today. And so I share my personal story by, kind of putting that face on and lacking that vulnerability and not leaning into taking care of myself and wellness. I ended up in a really tough position myself. And so when I talk with leaders about it, I talk to it more from the perspective of 10 years ago, if I said you were going to meditate or do yoga,
they probably thought you were crazy, right?
Totally. They totally would have.
Well, I think that they should all work with you, Michelle, at soul2soleconsulting.com. Sorry, we're running out of time. Soul2Sole consulting.com. Michelle King, thank you so much for being here, and welcome back